When the aloof campus crush discarded the campus belle's thoughtfully made meal to embarrass her once more, I abruptly noticed hovering message bubbles in the air. Don't abandon him. He simply craves your undivided devotion. Though he tossed your meal, his soul is aching within. Just soothe him and all will be well. That's when it hit me. The reality I inhabited was truly a book. The campus belle was manipulated by the storyline, fated to rescue the protagonist who had lost his parents. But the protagonist was odd and challenging, forever speaking contrary to his emotions. Treating her with disdain wasn't affection. Wasn't affection meant to involve doing all one could to treat someone kindly, to value their every gesture. So I retrieved the meal container from the floor, interrupting the regret that was on the verge of escaping the campus belle's mouth, and softly inquired of her, if he rejects it, might you offer your morning meals to me henceforth? I haven't eaten decently in nearly a year. The instant I uttered this, the hovering remarks that had anticipated the pair's reunion burst into fury. Where did this wretched nobody emerge from? So oblivious. The heroine was on the brink of expressing remorse to the hero. They were this near to patching things up. This near. Is this chick the embodiment of a famished spirit, scooping up what others discard? I disregarded the slurs and gazed expectantly at the campus belle. May I have it? I inquired once more. She paused, blinking in bewilderment, appearing charmingly bewildered. My nudge snapped her back, and she stuttered, but it's already soiled. I don't care, I replied. For one enduring constant hunger, this meal container was a banquet. They didn't label her the campus belle with a tender spirit for no reason. With little delay, she agreed. Well, all right. I offered her a radiant grin, thanks. I was about to head back to my spot to savor this uncommon treat when the formerly quiet Aiden suddenly erupted. Emma, who authorized you to hand over my possessions? He seized the meal container from my grasp and hurled it down, stomping it beneath his shoe. I loathe folks like you the most, exploiting sympathy to claim what's not yours. Today it's a meal, tomorrow you'll demand cash. I stumbled and tumbled clumsily to the ground, my hand landing on fragments from a peer's shattered mug. Blood surged right away, but I sensed no ache, only sorrow as I observed the meal container ruined. Aiden peered down at me with scorn. The remark drifted up once more. The hero is so impressive. This chick appears at the most inconvenient moment, precisely when the leads are clashing and attempts to steal his focus. Lucky he can detect phony kind girls. Otherwise, our naive heroine would forfeit her guy without realizing. Aiden appeared to revel in the acclaim, gazing arrogantly at the campus belle, awaiting her remorse and clarification. But this occasion, the campus belle didn't cater to his foul mood. She dashed to assist me rise, then faced Aiden with fury in her gaze. Aiden, you've crossed the line this time. Why involve outsiders in our issues? She implied he shouldn't harm blameless onlookers, but Aiden reacted as if he'd received a fatal wound. He reeled back 2 paces, his tone cracking. I've crossed the line. Emma, you vowed you'd remain by my side and treat me well eternally. But now you're shouting at me for the first time over a total unknown. With that, he dashed from the room. The hero's actions are intense, but solely because he values the heroine immensely. Rather than grasping him, she reprimands him for another. How wounded he must be, the bubbles remarked. It's unjust, he views her as his sole redemption, but she can't center her existence wholly around him. That's why the heroine will perish in a vehicle collision on university admission test day, seeking the hero who fled. Then she'll become his everlasting vanished romance. After her passing, he'll at last comprehend his emotions and continue with her remembrance until he encounters his genuine partner in university. Perish in a vehicle collision. I stiffened, staring in astonishment. Reflexively, I extended for the campus belle's arm, but she was staring anxiously toward where Aiden had departed. She hastily expressed regret to me and rushed after him. She proceeded so swiftly, I couldn't halt her. Without the meal, I had forfeited my sole opportunity for a genuine feed. At midday, while fellow pupils went to dine, I remained in the room. I extracted a partially consumed chilled bun from my drawer, my sustenance for the day. My household was extremely impoverished. My drunkard dad had vended all valuables in our residence. My mom was persistently sick, and care was costly. I had suggested quitting studies and laboring, but she warned of consuming toxin if I did. So I persisted in studies, managing meagerly and conserving every cent. That meal container. It might have been my single adequate repast for the day. A surge of injustice overwhelmed me, and tears commenced to drop. One droplet hit my bun with a gentle tap. Abruptly, a mild tone inquired, "Why haven't you headed to dine?" I glanced up to behold the campus belle at the entrance, clutching something. I swiftly concealed my bun in my drawer. Oh, I couldn't resolve an issue and wished to crack it before departing, I fabricated. She appeared to observe but feigned ignorance. Approaching me, she queried casually, "Which issue?" "I can aid you." "What?" I blinked, stunned. "Which issue are you trapped on?" she reiterated patiently. Her empathetic stare rested on me, gentle and cozy. I indicated a haphazard query. She settled opposite me, retrieved a pen, and started clarifying. Her tone was distinct and fluid, rendering the intricate electromagnetism issue simple to grasp. As she conversed, she appeared to radiate, so dissimilar from the underachieving pupil persona she donned for others. I recalled what the Bubbles had stated. After his folks passed, the hero's pride grew delicate. To safeguard it, she feigned poor performance so folks wouldn't probe why she deceived him. But was all this truly worthwhile? Her tone returned me. "So the ultimate outcome is?" I realized I'd been gazing at her. She rapped my brow with her pen. "Did you comprehend all?" I nodded rapidly. "Then describe it back to me in your terms," she stated. "Why? It's the Feynman study method. If you can clarify it so another comprehends, it signifies you truly grasp." I attempted, and 5 minutes later I clarified it flawlessly. She grinned contentedly. "Seems you really do grasp." I assumed she'd depart, but instead she grabbed her sack and extracted 2 heated boxes of Yangzhou stir-fried rice. "Let's dine together. View it as atonement for this morning." My nostrils tingled and I regarded her through misty eyes. "Is this truly valuable to you?" She halted, perplexed. "What?" I sniffled and articulated clearly, one term at a time. "You, Emma Chen, you possess a fine household, you're gifted and attractive. Yet for Aiden, you persistently diminish yourself, groveling before him. Even concealing your actual scores and intentionally underperforming, you ought to have your own splendid glow. Why orbit a temperamental, egocentric, self-absorbed individual?" Emma blinked at me, evidently unsettled by my statements. For an instant, her lips separated as if she desired to reply, but then she sealed them, her look shifting between astonishment and perplexity. The quietness extended, interrupted only by the distant murmurs from the hallway outside where other pupils were returning from dining. "You believe I'm diminishing myself?" she eventually queried, her tone soft but with a hint of protectiveness. I held her stare firmly. "I believe you're deserving of more than this, more than being a side figure in another's tale." Her forehead creased, and for a moment she appeared nearly exposed. But then the chime sounded, and the instant shattered. She erected her stance, placed one of the heated boxes before me, and stated with compelled cheer, "Consume before it chills. I'll catch you later." She departed without awaiting my response, her tresses swinging behind her as she strode away. I gazed at the steaming stir-fried rice, the aromatic fragrance wafting to my nose. My belly contracted painfully, recalling I hadn't dined properly in days. I grasped the utensils and delved in, but even as I consumed, my thoughts were whirling. The hovering remarks from before lingered with me. Emma Chen would perish in a vehicle mishap while pursuing Aiden on the day of the university admission test. That was the predetermined narrative. And if this was indeed a book, then I had already meddled twice. First by voicing out and claiming the meal intended to propel the leads toward harmony, and second by sowing even a minor uncertainty in Emma's thoughts about her decisions. Would the tale alter now? Or would it merely adjust, shoving events back to their initial course? I didn't know, but one fact was sure: I couldn't permit her to perish. The remainder of the day blurred by. Aiden didn't reappear in class after midday, and Emma was preoccupied, peeking toward the entrance every few moments. I kept low, jotting notes and overlooking the inquisitive stares from my peers who had seen the dining area spectacle. The hovering bubbles surfaced occasionally, grumbling about how the hero was injured, how the heroine needed to comprehend his anguish. Their terms felt like unseen strings attempting to yank the world back to its intended form. When classes concluded, I lingered to wipe the chalkboard. As I erased the final marks of chalk, I heard rapid footfalls in the corridor. Emma emerged in the doorway once more, a bit winded. "There you are," she stated. I wished to express gratitude, for before. I pivoted, resting against the instructor's table. "For what? You already provided me a meal." She shook her head. "Not for that. For challenging Aiden in your manner, few would hazard irking him." I scowled. "Emma, you do recognize that him possessing a foul side isn't standard, right? That you shouldn't need to tread carefully around someone you value?" Her gaze shifted aside, her digits clenching on the band of her sack. "It's intricate, is it?" I queried softly. She wavered as if measuring her terms, but then she exhaled. He's endured much. After his folks died, he transformed. He repels people before they can abandon him. I believed if I remained, regardless, he'd ultimately trust me. The hovering text materialized instantly. See. The heroine grasps the hero's wound. This is why she's ideal for him. Affection means tolerating all for the other. I yearned to yell at those terms, but I overlooked them. And what about you? I queried. Who remains for you? Her look shifted again, and for a fleeting second I thought she might truly respond. But then her device vibrated. She peeked at it, her expression dropping slightly, and murmured, "I must depart." "Is it Aiden?" I surmised. She didn't affirm, but her quietness sufficed. As she strode away, I reached a resolution. If the narrative desired her to exhaust herself for someone who viewed her as secondary, then I would meddle as much as required. I wasn't present to enact a minor role, not when a life hung in the balance. That evening at home, I sat at my shaky table under the faint glow of a lone light. The space carried a subtle odor of moist timber, and the noise of my dad's inebriated snores emanated from the opposite side of the slender barrier. I drew out my tattered journal and started recording all I recalled from the hovering bubbles. Crucial occurrences, dates, specifics. The university admission test day was encircled thrice in crimson ink. If I aimed to rescue Emma, I required a strategy, and strategies demanded data. Over the following week, I observed her intently. She maintained her pattern, arriving early to welcome Aiden, toting his texts, feigning incomprehension of simple arithmetic issues, though I'd witnessed her tackle tougher ones in moments. Aiden, conversely, luxuriated in her focus, but never reciprocated unless he sensed she might be displeased with him. The remarks never ceased. They depicted his every minor deed as evidence of his profound, concealed affection, distorting reality to render him the misconstrued champion. It was as if the reality itself was misleading everyone into accepting this liaison. But I also detected something additional. Emma had begun peeking at me more frequently in lessons. Occasionally, when Aiden wasn't observing, she'd offer me a slight grin or inquire about assignments. They were minor fractures in the mask, but they existed. One afternoon, as we exited school, I caught up to her. "Emma, do you have a second?" She appeared astonished, but agreed. "Certainly." We strolled jointly toward the transit halt. "I realize you likely think I'm intruding," I commenced, "but I can't cease pondering what you mentioned about remaining no matter what. Has it ever dawned on you that perhaps he's meant to learn to stand independently?" She frowned mildly. "You think I'm facilitating him. I think you're bearing all the burden in this connection. And I think you merit someone who bears you in return." Her pace slackened. For a moment, she seemed immersed in reflection. But then her device vibrated again, and predictably she peeked at it, uttered an apology, and hastened away. I observed her depart, the descending sun extending her shadow across the walkway. The hovering text materialized again, complacent and assured. The heroine must place the hero above everything. That is the sole way the tale will advance. Not if I have a say. That evening I resolved to experiment with something. If the narrative resembled a stream, perhaps I could redirect it slightly without it rebounding too fiercely. The following day I waited until I spotted Emma heading to Aiden's room with his preferred beverage. I blocked her route. "Hey, can you assist me with something briefly? It'll only take 5 minutes." She paused. I was just going to. "It's pressing," I stated. She nibbled her lip, glanced toward Aiden's entrance, and then trailed me to the archive. I feigned difficulty with a mechanics issue, observing her from the edge of my vision. 5 minutes turned to 10, then 15. Ultimately, she chuckled softly. "You already know how to resolve this, don't you?" I grinned. "Perhaps. But I prefer conversing with you more." Her cheeks tinted lightly, but before she could retort, the archive door banged open. Aiden stood there, his expression stormy. "Emma, I was awaiting you." The remarks detonated with thrill. "The hero is envious." "This is a pivotal moment." Emma leaped up, agitated. "I was merely assisting." Assisting her, Aiden interrupted, glaring at me. "Why? Don't you have superior activities?" I held his glare steadfastly. "She's permitted companions, isn't she?" His mandible tensed, but he didn't reply. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next chilling tale.